Everyone here tonight for this meeting. We have chairs down front if people would like to come down front. We don't bite up here. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight. What we're doing is we're going to have a presentation on some of the good things that the RSU has done. Then we're going to have a question and answer period regarding the presentation. And if we have time, we are going to have a public comment section. Public comments will be limited to approximately 2 minutes each. And if you have a question, I'll call on you. And Principal Newitt is going to run around with a microphone. I'd like to have you say your name and wait till he gets to you before you ask the question or the comment. So with that, I would turn it over to Superintendent Lucas.
Thank you all for coming this evening. It's a great turnout. We're very pleased to have you here. This forum was organized to give you a little bit of information and background on the RSU. We know that next week at this time you will have gone to the polls and made a very important decision regarding your students and the schools in your communities. So we wanted to take this opportunity tonight to share with you some information about RSU 24. Those of you who came in a little later, you probably have a handful of handouts prepared for you. If any of those raise questions for you, or if any of those you want more information, you certainly can contact us at the central office. We'd be happy to give you more information. But we're going to start tonight by trying to give you an opportunity to hear from the people who work in RSU 24 and who have been spearheading all of the work that we've been doing. So to start things off, we want to talk about educational programming. We certainly have been busy in this area. And I'm going to start by having Katrina Kane, Assistant Superintendent, talk to you about some of the accomplishments in RSU 24 related to ed programming. Katrina.
Hi everyone, can you hear me okay? Great. There are several accomplishments that we're very proud of, and I want to just briefly highlight some of them. But I want you to know that this improvement is really in large part due to the school staff. I'm very proud of our teachers and our principals, and we know through research that our schools only improve when things happen in the classroom differently than they happened before. And our teachers have worked really hard to improve their schools, and I'm very proud of the efforts that they've made. One of the areas where I really feel we've grown is at HCTC. And having been a former administrator there, I'm a little bit biased, but I'm particularly proud of their work. HCTC is growing, and they've added new programming in law enforcement, welding, and early childhood, and that's great for our students. We've also demonstrated growth in student achievement, which is very important. It's great to see this improving. Very excited about those recent SAT scores at Ellsworth High School, and we hope to see that trend continue as well. Something that has been needed for a long time is alternative education programming at the high school level. At EHS, we have something called the Fourth Door. We've needed this for a long time. This is a program that helps a population of our students that need additional support, and I'm very proud of the work that the teachers and the administration have done there to support those students and to really work to prevent dropout at the high school level. Our visual and performing arts staff, additionally, have really shown tremendous leadership, and this is shown in two ways. They're committed to the Maine Arts Assessment Initiative, and through this initiative, as teacher leaders, they are really collaborating to share their best practices on teaching, learning, and assessment, and they're sharing that with others around the state. But in addition to that, at Ellsworth High School, they've launched a Visual and Performing Arts Academy. We've implemented something called PBIS. If you're a parent, you've heard lots about this. Positive Behavioral Intervention and Supports. This was done with a tremendous amount of teacher input and teacher leadership, and it's great to see students starting to take responsibility for their behavior, and it's good to see schools being proactive in preventing negative behaviors. We've also sustained a commitment to the Maine Content Literacy Project, and this is also done with teacher leaders. collaborating and sharing their best practices with other teachers within their schools. The Physical Science Partnership is done in collaboration with the University of Maine, and it's bringing best practices in science at the middle level. I've seen some of our teachers present at workshops to other teachers around the state. They've done action research, and their efforts are very much appreciated. We've also implemented new curriculum in social studies called TCI. This is the Teachers Curriculum Institute, and what I like about this is that it has created 4 teachers, 5 teachers. Those are just a few of the things that we've done collaboratively. I'd like to introduce Erica Mazzeo, Curriculum Director, and she's going to talk about some of the things we need to do in the future and some things we've just started this year. Erica?
Thank you, Katrina. So we have a lot underway in the RSU, and this is only just a highlight. We've been working closely with teachers to streamline the learning experience and guarantee opportunities for all children across the RSU. This year, we fully implemented the Springboard Language Arts program, 6 through 12, so that's a complete articulation. We had previously had it just at the high school level the past year. And we've also done the same with math, so Springboard Math is now implemented 6 through 12. We've simplified the supports a little bit with math, and we're using IXL Math for our support program. Adoption of Everyday Math program, the revised version to align with the Common Core K through 5. And then the Lucy Calkins Writing program for K through 5 as well. And we've instituted time during the school week for extra support for struggling students. Moving on to the future, there is a redesign of K-5 science needed to accommodate next generation science standards and to guarantee high quality science programming in our K-5 segment. So we're going to be working on that over the course of this year and into the years to come. We are working to articulate curriculum fully aligned to the Common Core for math and ELA, as well as other national and state standards. We're developing a system for assessing and monitoring students' progress towards proficiency to answer the demand of the proficiency-based diploma. We're realigning grading practices to a standards-based approach. No easy task. We're working to sustain professional community networks across the RSU to support all of these instructional initiatives. So this just speaks a little bit to the collective capacity we embrace in order to support students and enhance teaching and learning in the RSU. It also speaks to a vertical agreement with curriculum and programming, the depth and breadth of our professional learning communities, and representation we're able to offer up on state and regional boards and initiatives. That's just a little bit about educational programming initiatives in the RSU. Next up is Sulie from our Central Office.
I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've done with special education in the district. First of all, we have created some local programming to minimize our costly out-of-district placements when students have to go to specialized treatment. It's a very expensive venture, and so we have created programming that can address that in many of our schools and meet those kids' needs right here with us, so we can take care of that. We have created programs that allow easy access for students from any of our community schools to receive specialized services. The majority of our kiddos in elementary schools around the area end up in our high schools eventually. And so the opportunity to provide them early intervention services is very important, and so we're able to do that nicely for them. We currently have underway the implementation of a new program for young students with behavior needs at Mountain View School. Since the RSU began, we also began a program here at EEMS for K to 4 students, so we have that for kids at both ends of the district. We have begun training our transportation providers in some behavior management techniques, we found that we were having some issues while we were trying to get them to and from school, and so we're working with them to help the kiddos have a more successful trip to and from, and hopefully help their days to go better as a result. For the future, we are continuing to address student and program needs on both individual student levels and programming, and we're reviewing those all of the time and looking to see how we can improve them and what we can do to support our kiddos. And we're working to reduce identification through meeting needs in the regular classroom. Our teachers, both regular and special ed, are working really hard on differentiation strategies. We're using our positive behavioral intervention and support system quite well to help with that, and we have our RTI system that helps to remediate some skills before we have to go to referral for special education. So those are some things we've done in special ed, and I'm going to introduce April Clifford to talk about technology.
Hi, welcome. I'm always thrilled to talk about technology in the RSU. Most of you have seen me at the MLTI parent meeting for 7th and 8th grade or high school students, so you've heard me talk a lot. Great things happening here is that we implemented a one-to-one program in grades 6 through 12. So that means every student in the RSU has a computing device grades 6 through 12. In addition to that, each classroom has a pod of 5 machines, K5. So that's a huge investment in technology. We also have at least 1 cart per school. Specifically, this school has a cart per grade level and a cart in the computer lab. We have certified technical staff that repairs computers in-house. Now, this is such an amazing savings. The first year of MLTI at the high school level, we had a lot of screen damage. And what we'd have to do is students would bring the laptops to the library. The library would call us, we'd get them, we'd pack them up, we'd ship them off to the repair depot. The repair depot would get them, process them, repair them, take them back, and ship them back to us, and we get them back to the students. This process could take anywhere from 7 to 10 days. By having certified staff in-house, the equipment comes here, the certified technicians repair the equipment, and then it goes out. So that's a huge savings for us. We don't have to pay, we get parts at cost. We don't charge for any labor, everything has come right here. So that's a huge savings, not only in parts and management, but also in time, and we want to ensure that the technology is in the students' hands. What we're working on, we also have technology integrators that work with classrooms to team teach, to integrate technology into the classroom. This is done in a variety of ways at different levels. I know here, for an example, technology integrators worked with 6th grade teachers to teach them how to use LibreOffice or use those functions while writing. They've also done individual training and support. How do I use my grade book? How do I input grades? How do I post grades? How do I use IXL? How do I use everyday math? So they have support not only in the classroom, but individually for the teacher. This is the most exciting thing that's happened in the technology department is that we went with the MLTI 3 and adopted the iPad initiative for grades 7 through 12. And the reason this is so exciting, and those of you who've heard me before, are just like, we get to personalize learning for each student. So that device is not going to look the same for every student in the RSU. We're going to be able to, based on teacher recommendation and student need, be able to purchase apps or tools for that iPad so that students can really personalize what they need. For an example, if I have a student that needs help in math, I'm able to purchase specific programs geared to help them get up to speed. We're also, through that program, each teacher, grades 7 through 12, received a MacBook Air and an iPad mini. We're still working on equipping each classroom with digital projection. And the plans for the future is really to continue to work on the technology plan, which is a plan that's approved by the state. It's a 3-year plan. It's posted on the website if you're interested in that. And also to continue to implement a 5-year technology cycle. We try to replace technology equipment within a 5-year period to keep that updated so that teachers and students have access to that technology and that it's updated for them. So that's our goals. Thank you. I'd like to introduce David Bridgham to talk about finance.
So I was going to do finance and then facilities, but Suzanne's going to step in and pinch hit the facilities because I'm losing my voice. So bear with me. Under finance, you know, the thing that we're proud of, we've mentioned it many times, I think the record speaks for itself, is the money that we've saved in your budgets over the past 4 years. Very proud of that. We've been able to take advantage of economies of scale, employing good business practices throughout the organization to do that. We have, in the last 4 years, weathered 2 state curtailments, one very substantial, $825,000, our first year of operation. We managed to avoid short-term debt, so we haven't picked up interest cost by needing to borrow money, even though times are tight. And I think the thing I'm really most proud of is the team of real specialists that we've been able to put together. We have less people in finance overall than we did as separate districts in the RSU, but we've been able to kind of use people in areas of their strength and let them focus on things like payroll and human resources and not have to worry about accounting and getting the bills paid and those types of things, and other people that do the opposite. And I think that's made us a stronger organization and give us some real strength and expertise. Right now, we're very busy preparing for the new budget season. It's hard to believe it's October, we're preparing for the new budget season. We're getting ready to send out our bids for school supplies and copy paper and those types of things so that we can lock in pricing and name preferred vendors prior to starting the budget process so we know what we're going to be paying next year. We're also in the process this year, we have been for throughout the year in the process of collective bargaining agreements with employee organizations. There were 5 in the district. We finalized contracts with 3 of those organizations. We're still in the process of negotiating with 2 other organizations in the district. In the future, one of the things that we're looking at is we've got disparate needs spacing kind of all over the place. And we'd like to consolidate those and put those in one more central location somewhere in the district. And so we're going to start the process of looking to see how that would be done and see if it's financially feasible for us. One thing I didn't mention in our plans for the future, I'd really like to find a solution to the funding problem that we have with the state. I'd like to find a way to get some equity for our coastal towns that aren't necessarily rich. They're rich in property, but not rich in cash. I'll turn it over to Suzanne now, and she can talk about facilities.
Thanks, David. In the area of facilities, as soon as the RSU got started, we brought 2 brand new facilities on board. The Peninsula School in Prospect Harbor, and as you know, this particular building that we're sitting in today. We also implemented some routine processes for reviewing and awarding bids and contracts for things like snow plowing, trash removal, types of services that may have been done sort of helter-skelter in the pre-RSU days are now taken care of with a very well-designed process. One of the most important things that we're able to do is to obtain QSCB, that's Qualified School Construction Bond funding. And that was available through the federal government and gave us an opportunity to get up to, for us, $3.3 million that would help us to retrofit our buildings to save on energy. And those projects, actually, as it ended up, we were unable to do about $600,000 worth of those projects here in Ellsworth. Because although we planned those projects and had hoped to get them done, when it came time to get bonding, because we were in the withdrawal process, the funding was not available to us. The people who wrote the bonds would not write bonds for that part of the project because of the uncertainty of Ellsworth being part of the RSU or not. However, we have completed those, are in the process of completing those projects in our other schools in the district. We also obtained revolving renovation funding, $2 million to help us with indoor air quality projects, and half of that is being spent on HCTC, and some work's being done there. to hopefully provide a better HVAC system in that school. Well, presently underway, we have the finishing up of those projects. They began last spring and have been quite a bit of work, and those projects will be completed in the next few weeks. The other important thing we did in this year's budget is that we upgraded some security features in our schools. Schools like this school were already pretty well equipped with things like remote entry and security cameras, but other facilities in the district, such as HCTC, did not have those kinds of upgrades available at the time, and so we have put a lot of energy into that this year, and throughout this year we will continue with that project in making sure that all buildings have remote entry systems, panic buttons installed in the office so that first responders can be contacted should there be an emergency, and Knox boxes so that those first responders can get into buildings should those buildings be under lockdown. Looking toward the future, we are still looking to see some more construction in the building. In this district, we have some buildings that do need some attention. Certainly not this facility. This is a wonderful facility. But HCTC, for example, is one of the facilities that could use some expansion and some renovation. Long-term capital improvement plans for each of the facilities is something we're looking to do so that we can temper how we spend our money to solve our facilities problems over time. Also, we're looking at comprehensive energy and recycling programs to really continue to audit our use of energy, recycling of products that can be recycled. And finally, looking for a more articulated program for employee safety and training. One of the things we envision is that when we hire new staff and they come on board, that we actually have all of the training that we've been providing the staff over the past year or so available to them, maybe online or in some format, so that we can have continuous training and be able to give people the proper training as soon as they come on board, even if it happens to be mid-year, and make sure that everyone is well trained. Next thing we'd like to talk about is food service, and Ray Daly, our food service director, is here to talk to you about that. Ray?
Thank you. My name is Ray Daly. I'm the food service director here. I've been here for about 6 years. Gone through the creation of RSU and through this whole process. One of the big things that we notice as a collaborating group of food service professionals, and those are the managers in each one of these schools, is that we've been able to pool our resources together for buying, purchasing. We've cut down what we started with, which is about $422,000 worth of actual budgeted for food service. We've cut that down to what we call flat line. We're going to run on what we make from reimbursement from our meals. We're going to try to zero up on that for this year, so I think that's a big achievement. We have a computerized NutriKid system that we have in all the schools that gives the parents access to the students' accounts. It also gives the availability to make online payments. We have a bunch of different things that we're working on with farmers, local farmers, to do farm-to-school programs. We have gardens in different schools. We have some brand new greenhouse going down into Sumner. We've worked hard to get grants. We have 3 schools with grant money for fresh fruit and vegetables that's separate than the lunch program, and that's brought in an extra $28,000 worth of revenue. For the future, continually and always working on getting more students involved in the planning, implementing of the actual meals that we put out. Down in Sumner, we're just working on a program to maybe upgrade the breakfast program, maybe introduce smoothies and things like that for the breakfast program. Working on upgrading equipment, trying to stay even with what the state requests us to have for equipment. We want to put some steamers in some of the schools to cook food a little bit quicker, more nutritious, so we're continually always working in that direction.
Thank you. One last area of operation we'd like to turn our attention to is transportation. And in RSU 24, One of the things that we did was to consolidate bus garages so that we have one bus garage. We provide our own mechanics who do most of the repairs in our buses. We also have eliminated contract busing, which is more expensive in 5 of our RSU 24 communities. And we have purchased and replaced, either through direct purchase or lease purchase, at least 10 school buses. I think the actual number is a little higher than that. I think it might be 11. What we have underway in transportation is presently we're in the process of hiring a transportation director. This is a position that actually was approved in the budget a year ago, a full year and a half ago. And we were not able to fill that position last year because of state curtailments. So this summer in August, the board decided that since we had some extra money in our budget for a mechanic position that we decided not to fill, that we would use those funds to get a transportation director. Now, one of the reasons we need to do that is that presently, the only one who's in the bus garage is the mechanic while the buses are on the road. So if a parent calls with a problem about a bus, or if there's an emergency for a bus, all of our other transportation workers are out on the road in buses. So having a transportation director would allow us to have somebody there for safety concerns. That would help us to do some central dispatch. It would also help us with digital routing of our buses to try to improve our routes and get kids to school and home again faster and with conserving as much gas as we can, or diesel. Finally, in looking to the future, one of the things that was on our agenda for the future was to eliminate 3 remaining bus contracts and bring those back into the fold and provide district busing for those 3 communities. So that's what you can expect in the future for RSU 24 transportation. Now I'd like to turn our attention specifically to the Ellsworth schools. And we have with us this evening the principals and director of the technical center. And we'd like to give them an opportunity to come up and tell you a little bit about some of the exciting things that are happening in their school at this time. So we'll start with Ellsworth Elementary Middle School. We have Amy Peterson-Roper and Jim Newitt. The 2 of these share the administration of this building. Amy and Jim.
Hurry up, Amy. I'm Jim Newitt. I've been principal here a long time. Certainly no secret that one of the best things about working with kids is creating that student-teacher relationship. If you don't have that, you're not going to get real far with kids. We structured the school here to enhance that. At the middle level, we have grades 5 through 8, about 320 students, and we have 4 teachers on each grade level team, along with a special ed teacher that helps with the kids that have those needs. And we take those 4 teachers and we break them down into 2 pairs. So even though you've left the nest of the single teacher, self-contained room, you now have just 2 teachers to which you have to go to for your primary subjects. So we try to create that nice student-teacher atmosphere here. What I do with those 4 teachers, I take one of them, and they're very kind to me, and they become part of a PLC facilitator leadership team. And PLC stands for Professional Learning Communities, and that's the time we spend together on Fridays, PLC we call it. What I like about having a meeting every other week with those PLC facilitator leaders is that we can create the plans that will go back to those grade level teams to determine how we are going to best spend our time with those students, particularly during 2 periods called RTI that we have each week. So at the middle level, those teachers meet every Friday. That's what happens when your students go home at 1:30 on Fridays. They get together, they plan things called ILPs, for example, with their team members. An ILP is an individualized learning plan. So each student below the 50th percentile in math or reading gets a plan drafted for them. And during RTI, which is response to intervention time, twice a week, those students get work that they need done. Now, there are kids that don't have those needs, and there's programs called IXL, a lot of acronyms tonight. IXL is simply a computer-based program that's correlated back to their NWEA scores, which is another test. So we try to connect, as you can tell, I'm talking a lot, but I'm trying to tell you that we're zeroing in our instruction and our remediation and our enrichment based on what kids need. So that's what, those are two things that are happening structure-wise at the middle level, but the PLC is K-12 throughout the district. So I'll be quiet for a minute and let Mrs. Roper speak.
We too have different committees that we've been working on. In this particular year, what we did for the elementary side is everybody sort of got on board and took on a role so that we could meet the needs of what was going on for ourselves. So we have an RTI committee, we have a PBIS committee, we have a PLC committee, we even have an adult fund committee, which helps us sort of take a break sometimes and build camaraderie, build relationships with each other, because the work is really tough and we know that. Jim talked about the sort of bringing people together for PBIS, for the PLCs. One of the other things we've done at the K-4 level is this year, for us at K-8 at Ellsworth Elementary Middle School, is we were able to bring our spectrum teacher on full time. We've had 1.5 days at the middle level and 3.5 days at the elementary level with 2 different people, and this year we were able to hire Melissa Mitchell to be here full time, and she's actually been able to implement programming for children on an ongoing basis, which has been really great. One of the other things we did this year around an initiative is that we know attendance is a national issue, and last year we had Dawn McPhail, who's now the principal at Lemoyne School. She was our K-8 assistant principal, and she was really able to look at our data as a K-8 school and sort of come through, where our issues were. And we knew our issues were children coming in late who were missing in beginning instruction and children who were leaving early. And then we also have the children who don't come. And so we brought this idea to the administrative team about doing it's a national effort called Attendance Works, and we brought it to the RSU, and as an RSU, we implemented this the month of September. And we're happy to say that just for absences alone, we went up almost 2% for the month of September for kids who not only came to school, but came to school on time and stayed all day. And we think that's a really great thing, because if kids are not in school, they can't learn. The other thing we're doing is we're celebrating that every month. So we understand that not every child can come to school every single month. Kids get sick, kids go on vacation, but we'll do it monthly so that we can reward them for the months that they are there. Because we know that in order for achievement to happen for any child, they have to be in school to learn.
Speak a little bit more about curriculum. You heard earlier from several of the speakers that the staff, teachers here are dealing with new social studies curriculum for about the second year. It's called TCI. This year's new Springboard Math, Springboard ELA. Also, we have, I think it's about the third year of PSP, Physical Science Partnership, which is a huge endeavor. And I just want to give the teachers, I know a lot of them are here tonight, give them a lot of credit for what they have done to implement those programs, to get the summer training. We're talking sometimes weeks at a time, particularly for the science. And then for the RSU as well, to get the trainers here. And they're coming from Kentucky, they're coming from all over the country to get our teachers up to speed. So it's been a great thing. And for me, best of all to see is that teachers are talking the same talk. It's not, even within a team, you would have one teacher doing one thing, one teacher maybe doing something else. But now you have programs that are aligned, not just across the grade level, but across the district. So Springboard, for example, is 6 through 12. So that's been a very nice addition to what we're doing here to have that alignment. And I'll give a shout out to Mrs. Stackpole and Mr. Ford. Those are two teachers that with the PSP have not only been trained to implement it, but they're also leaders in the state. And that's a collaboration with the Maine Physical Science Department and just bringing education to the front for science here. So I appreciate their work. I think I'm done.
I think the last thing we wanted to bring to your attention is that Ellsworth School Department and now Ellsworth, as part of the RSU, have always cared deeply about behavior and children. And we talked a little bit about the PBIS, but I want you to know that we take time once a month, both from the K-8 level, whether it's an assembly or an announcement, to make sure that we are acknowledging for kids to understand that we appreciate and acknowledge that they behave in school, or they are following characters like responsibility or honesty, because we know that unless children are in a good state of behavior and paying attention and being in school, that again, they're not going to learn. And we want to also let you know that we have worked really hard as a K-8 staff to make that a seamless program, so that when children are in kindergarten, they're learning the same language that they'll know when they're in 8th grade. So we feel really great as a K-8 school.
Sorry, one more thing. And this is from an omission the other night when we had a forum down at City Hall. I did not get up and speak when it was discussed that our medieval fair was no longer in existence. That part is true. It's now called the Greek and Roman Festival. Same tent, except instead of eating medieval popcorn, you're eating Greek and Roman popcorn. So I credit the 7th grade team. They've done that for over 20 years. It's a highlight of the 7th grade school year, and they, I appreciate them doing that. They raise the money for the tent themselves. They take time to make that happen with the kids. So it does still exist. It's just there was a curriculum change. Medieval's now taught in 6th grade. Greek and Roman's taught in 7th. So now we have a Greek and Roman festival. Now I'm done.
Renee, please.
Thank you, Jen and Amy. So, good evening. I'm Renee Thompson, principal of Ellsworth High School, and it is with great pleasure that I have the opportunity to share with you this evening some of the wonderful things that are happening at Ellsworth High School. There are many, but I'm just going to talk about just a few. What we currently have that we're working on is a sophomore transition, and what that means is our freshman academy has proven data that tells us that tight academy structure provides those students with a structure that helps them to want to be in school. Their attendance rate is higher, the failure rate is lower, and that data has prompted us to create a similar structure for our sophomore students when they are transitioning from their freshman year to their sophomore year. The sophomore teachers are meeting once a week right now, and in about an hour's time, they go through every single sophomore, name by name. It's a quick mention, but it provides them a pulse on what every single sophomore is doing, if someone needs to be called, if the parent needs to be notified, if the student didn't turn in a homework assignment, if there's, if they're starting to slip. The other initiative that we're doing this year, something that I'm particularly proud about, is what we call focused learning. This was created or became into my mind back in April. I read a book on response to intervention, and you've heard Amy and Jim talk about response to intervention. I read a book and I visited a school in Maine. And this school and the book prompted me to think about what could we do at Ellsworth High School for our students before they fail. There's so many students that we wait until they're in trouble, and I didn't like that. I didn't like that approach, and I wanted to reach kids while they were headed for trouble, not when they were in trouble. Because very often when kids are in trouble, it's too late. It's so hard to get them back, especially at the high school level. Something I learned from the book that I read is, in order for an intervention to be successful, it must be built into the schedule and it's no opt-out. So it's required, it's mandatory for all students. Focused learning is built into the schedule. It's second period of every day at the high school. So second period at Ellsworth High School, every student is getting a very targeted intervention. The teachers tag students that need help. The teachers identify students that possibly didn't do well on a test the week before, that maybe need some additional support with fractions in math, or perhaps they know that they need help writing an essay. And we have a sophisticated app it's called FLAP, for Focused Learning App. The teachers go into this FLAP and tag the students. And all students are automatically defaulted to a study hall. And Mr. Applestein and myself, we share a study hall for those students that are not tagged, which are the students that we know are not needing additional help and support in the high school. So there's probably 80% of the school, of the student population, 80 to 90% are being tagged every single day during second period. We are also working on attendance at Ellsworth High School, and we're very aware of our attendance. Our attendance rate also increased this September compared to last September. We went from 91% to 94%, which is a 3% gain. And that means that 14 more students attended school during September at Ellsworth High School, which is a class. 14 kids is a whole class. We also began dual enrollment this year at Ellsworth High School. We are working with University of Maine Fort Kent. And we have 13 students that are signed up for a history class. It is being taught by one of our own teachers. And students receive high school credit in addition to 3 hours of college credit. This is something that we are growing and developing. We have teachers that will be teaching English and psychology and possibly math and biology classes as well. It's a great opportunity for our students to not only get that high school credit, but to get that college experience as well, right here at the high school. Katrina mentioned the VPA Academy, this is the first year we started that. It's been a work in progress for many, many years, so I'm especially proud to see that up and running this year. We have many, many students, over 20 students that have applied for that program this year. A couple of we are a SIG school. A school improvement grant was awarded to Ellsworth High School a little over 2 years ago. This is our third year. And there's many, many initiatives that have come about because of the funds that we've received through this grant. But a couple of them are project-based learning, which is a hands-on approach to learning for students. The students have an essential question. There's a specific topic or discussion that they create in a group. They also are assigned an individual assignment, which they research and develop and bring to the group. And there's the final piece is a presentation. It's a demonstration, and we typically have, we invite community members, we invite other people to come into the school and see these demonstrations as a result of project-based learning. And co-teaching is another interesting instructional model that we have at Ellsworth High School. Before co-teaching, we had identified students, special education, identified students that were in separate classrooms, very often isolated from their peers. Co-teaching brings a special education teacher and a teacher in that content area together in the same classroom. And it allows us to take students that have been in classrooms by themselves or more isolated into a regular mainstreamed classroom. It's a very interesting approach, and it's not easy to develop. It's either a very happy marriage or not, and sometimes ends in divorce. And we have to partner other teachers together. But when it does work, it's beautiful. And students that typically were not able to be in a classroom environment with their peers are now able to experience that. If you were to come into Ellsworth High School and walk around the school, you would see that teachers' doors are open. They're not closed. Our teachers are very comfortable and very welcome to have people come in and visit and observe and talk with the students, ask them what they're doing, how is this related to your education, what is the purpose of this assignment, how will you be assessed on what you're doing today. You'll see that the students are typically in groups. They're learning with another person or with 3 or 4 in a group setting, collaborating with one another. Very often the group has roles assigned, so there may be a leader in that group, there could be a recorder, there could be someone taking time, there could be someone facilitating the group. You're going to see students that are they're engaged in their instruction. They are student-centered classrooms happening at Ellsworth High School. Students are participating more in their learning. They're owning their learning. You're going to see teachers that are not always talking so much anymore. They're not at the front of the classroom. They're not lecturing. They're facilitating student learning. You may see another teacher visiting another teacher's classroom. And at the end of that class, that teacher will provide feedback to that teacher. It's a peer-to-peer observation model, which we've used for, this is our 2nd year we've had that at Ellsworth High School. And it's quite effective, and teachers benefit greatly by learning from one another. And of course, you're going to see co-teaching happening at Ellsworth High School. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you some exciting things that are happening in Ellsworth High School. And I'd like to turn over the mic to Amy Bose, Director of HCTC.
Good evening. I'm excited to talk to you about the increased opportunities that we have for students at Hancock County Technical Center. As you know, HCTC services about 200 students, and we get students from all over Hancock County and one from Washington County, which is 8 high schools. And as you've heard, we've had a lot of facility upgrades over the last several years and an increase in programming. But one of the things that I'm most excited about is the increase in opportunities for kids and the work of our staff. First, we have seen increased accessibility to CTE programs over the last several years. We have some high schools that have more than doubled the number of students that they send to us over the last few years. And that has been as a result of increased collaboration between all of the high schools across Hancock County. All of the principals from all of the high schools and myself meet regularly and talk about how we can give better access to our programs for kids. You also will have seen probably over the last few years that we've increased the rigor of our programs in CTE, and that's been a movement statewide. Some of you may know that CTE used to be voc ed. It used to be a voc ed model, and that has now changed to be called career and technical education. And what's happened statewide is all program instructors across the state meet with their counterparts. So for example, all of the automotive technology instructors across the state meet twice a year. And over the last several years, all of the CTE programs across the state have designated national industry standards that they align their curriculum to. That's resulted in an increase in opportunity for our kids. Our kids can now leave any of our programs across the state with national certifications, which enables them to be able to enter the workforce immediately at a higher level of pay. And we've also been able, as a result of those certifications, to have students leave with college credits already completed when they graduate from high school. We've had articulation agreements more than double over the last few years because of the hard work of our staff. Staff has worked tirelessly with different colleges nationwide to provide opportunities for kids to earn high school credits while at HCTC as well as college credits. Some of these articulation agreements are throughout the state of Maine with the community college system, with Beale College, Husson College, but we also have articulation agreements nationwide, which a lot of people don't know, at schools such as Boston University and UNOH. So those are some of the things that we're really proud of. In addition, the commitment of the staff over the last 5 to 7 years has been with literacy. And last year, my staff was the only CTE school in the state to become an exemplary literacy school, selected by the state for the work of our teachers for their increased academic rigor in their programs. So we're very proud of everything we've accomplished at HCTC. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to know if any board members have any comments before we open up for questions. Anyone? I'll start off by saying that when, and I know this RSU has been difficult for most people to get a grasp on. Governor Baldacci and Susan Gendron shoved it down the throat with really no option. We were forced into it. I was not in favor of it in the beginning. Several people from Ellsworth and other areas representing this board were not in favor of it. And as it has progressed, we have seen the benefits. We're providing an excellent opportunity for our students to have a good education. We've saved money, we've streamlined, we've increased our purchasing. All these things that you've heard, it has really benefited, in the end, the students of this RSU. With that being said, if no one has anything, we'll entertain questions regarding the presentation that you've seen tonight. Oh. Gentlemen, you're right.
Hello. Hello, my name's Sean Hall. My daughter Courtney goes to Ellsworth High School. First of all, I'd like to say that the teachers are doing a really great job implementing all these programs, but I'd like to address these pamphlets. Seems a bit wasteful to be putting all this information on these pamphlets and having them colored and having so many things. I'd like to know how much they cost, and I'd like to know who's paying for these pamphlets. To piggyback on that question, I've heard a lot of great things, but I'd like to know which one of these implementations could be done without the RSU. I see a lot on these pamphlets. It seems like we can handle it under local control. It seems a bit misleading to put a lot of accomplishments on these pamphlets when you could handle these with local control as well. I'd like to know what could we do without the RSU, and what does the RSU offer that we can't do locally?
Well, as to your first question, I do not have the number in front of me. However, the actual postage was bulk postage, and we've only mailed flyers to the 3 communities who are considering a vote on November 5th. Bulk postage was in the vicinity of $600, and we did have the flyers printed, and I have not received the invoice for that yet. We do budget each year for a certain amount of money that we use to send flyers out concerning our budget in the spring, and this year we probably will forego that because we felt it was much more important to get accurate information about the district out to these communities. There's an awful lot of information out there bubbling up on Facebook pages and other types of media, and the board directed us to get information on the RSU out to the community, so we attempted to do that. As far as which of these initiatives could be done in the Ellsworth School Department, I suppose any of them could be. But the fact of the matter is that they have been done under the leadership of RSU 24. We have been very busy. We have not been just sitting here and letting the schools run themselves. Our principals and our teachers are working really, really hard. And their work is paying off. Certainly, one of the things that came out last week was the increase in SAT scores at Ellsworth High School. It's been years in coming. People have worked really hard to see that happen. It's a little bit unfortunate that at a time when everyone should be celebrating that our hard work is paying off and that the students are actually performing at a higher level and above the state
average is somewhat overshadowed by this tug of war about withdrawal.
So basically, you didn't answer anything that I asked. Thank you.
How many questions can I have?
What's your name, sir?
My name is Joe Dominguez. I'm a resident of Ellsworth. I'm going to make a comment, but I may have a question later because I don't think this is time for my question because of this in regard to the presentation. But I want to ask you a question. I'd like to know who the board members are. Could we have them identify themselves? And if I'm not mistaken, is there 5 board members not present tonight? But you got 9 here, we had 14, so we had 5 that aren't here that didn't, whatever their reasons were. This is probably one of the most important votes that this community and this district has ever taken. And we have 5 of your board members missing. I don't quite understand that. But I will reserve for my time to ask the question later, germane to something else. Thank you very much. Could we have them introduce themselves?
First off, I'm Mike Pinkham from Sullivan. I'm the chair, and one of the people that is missing is the unfilled position, which has been vacant for the city of Ellsworth for 6 months. So one of those positions is vacant, obviously.
Roy Gott from Franklin.
Dawn Hudson from Ellsworth.
Randy Bragg, Mariahville.
Janet Wilpan, Sorrento.
Melissa Rockwood, Ellsworth.
Jamie Buto, Walby.
Henry Jr. from Steuben.
Mike Bierman, Hancock.
Hello, John Lee.
I'm John Monroe. I'm a student in the elementary school. I'm kind of curious about the numbers on the SAT reading scores. It seems like one of the big issues here is, are we getting, more better performance as a result of the RSU implementation? And it seems like we have a sudden jump in scores in 2013. I'd like to get an explanation for those numbers, and also I'd like to know if in the previous years the school was above or below the state average.
There you go.
Well, actually, our SAT math scores were, I believe, at 52%, meeting the standard. And I know that sounds miserable, but the whole state of Maine has a pretty low level. The state number for that was, and we actually had a graph that was marked, and I don't know why this one on the up here is not, but the state, I believe the state number was 48%. So finally, we are above the state average, and hopefully we will be able to sustain that. In the area of reading, I know some of you have copies in front of you, but for some reason it's not coming up on this. Oh, here we go. In the area of reading, the school score was around 53%, and the state score was at 49%. So about a 4-point difference between us and the state average.
But it's rather a sudden jump. I was wondering if you had an explanation for that. Are we doing something different?
Yeah, we absolutely are. We've actually been providing some special support systems for students who are low in reading. We've had a change in our math programming over the last few years to direct attention towards meeting higher standards in math. And also our change in instructional techniques at the high school are moving more towards student-centered learning, where students are doing more problem solving, more writing about their work, we believe is more aligned with the expectations of this test. The programs that we've just instituted, last year it was a reading language arts program, and this may be reflective of that, is called Springboard ELA. And Springboard ELA was actually developed by the College Board. It is a research-based program that's aligned to the state standards, but also to the national Common Core standards. And that program, we believe, is our best program out there for making sure that kids are prepared to a higher and more rigorous level. That program was in place in the high school all of last year. This year it has also been implemented in grades 6, 7, and 8. So as students move through, we're hoping to see continual gains in this area because we feel that it's a very high quality program. Implementation is difficult. It was difficult last year at the high school, and it will be difficult this year at 6, 7, 8 because the expectations are different from and in some cases more rigorous than what kids have been accustomed to at those grade levels. Now mathematics is a little different story. We had adopted Carnegie Math, which is also a research-based program, very strong program. However, it was not a good fit for our teachers and for our students because a big component of it was computer-based, but it was a different way of teaching math, and our implementation with that was actually quite difficult. We had some struggles over that. So that's why we've now moved to the College Board developed Springboard Math, because we feel that it is equally as high quality program as the Carnegie, but a little different pedagogy. And the first read on that from teachers and parents and students is that people are seeming to like that program very much.
Kelly Mitchell. I have a kindergarten student here at Ellsworth Elementary and 2 middle school students here as well. My question is pertaining to Ellsworth High School. I've heard the building principal make mention of students being tagged if they are not meeting the standard or needing intervention services, which I think is great. But my understanding is that enrichment services are not being provided to those students who are okay, they're being sent to a study hall. Why are they being sent to a study hall? Or are there course opportunities for them to utilize during the study hall time? Because it appears to me that the focus is being placed more on the child that is not meeting and not anything to do with the child that is meeting the standard. So if my child is meeting a standard, what enrichment opportunity is being provided during that instructional time?
Well, Kelly, I think you bring up a very good point. This is a brand new program, just put in place. The reality is that